Have you ever faced a storm in your life and the frustration was multiplied because it didn't seem that there was no one there for you? And of all people to not be there for you, it seemed like Jesus is not there for you. The disciples faced this very situation themselves. Mark chapter number 6, starting with verse number 45, it says this: Immediately after this, Jesus insisted that his disciples get back into the boat and head across the lake to Bethesda, while he sent the people home. After telling everyone goodbye, he went up into the hills by himself to pray. Late the night, the disciples were in their boat in the middle of the lake, and Jesus was alone on land. He saw that they were in serious trouble, rowing hard and struggling against the wind and waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them walking on the water. He intended to go past them. But when they saw him walking on the water, they cried out in terror, thinking it was a ghost. They were all terrified when they saw him. But Jesus spoke to them once again. Don't be afraid, he says. Take courage. I am here. The disciples are in this storm in their life, and Jesus basically says, take your boat, go out into the sea, and I'm going to stay behind and pray. And while the disciples are out there, the storm just pops up, and the disciples are terrified. And it's several hours before Jesus comes on the scene, and Jesus makes this dramatic entrance, and he shows up to comfort them. It got me thinking when I was reading this morning, why didn't Jesus come right away? If Jesus knew that there was a storm coming, why didn't he come to them immediately, knowing that they were right in the middle of the storm? Well, I think about it this way. When we're going through storms, a lot of times, it's human nature for us to have this mindset, I'll work on it by myself. That says here that disciples, they were rowing as fast as they could. They were trying to do everything they could to get themselves out of this situation. I don't know about in your life, but in my life, a lot of times, when a storm hits my life, when I'm going through problems, I go through stages. First thing I want to do is I want to freak out. I want to literally, just freak out on the whole situation. And, I want to get stressed out. I want to stress out those around me because of my problems. I want to have this little pity party and just sit in my corner and cry and do all those things. And then finally, I'll ask others for help after that. But it's very, very later in the stages that I actually cry out to God and say, God, you help me. And it seems like when I have no other options, that's when I cry out to God. When I'm done freaking out, when I'm done stressing out, when I'm done trying to do it on my own and having my pity parties, that's when I call on God. The disciples knew Jesus was on land, and they probably assumed there wasn't anything that he could do. We're out here on this boat. He's on the land. He can't get to us anyway. There's nothing he can do. What is Jesus going to do anyway? Besides, we need help right now. But look what Jesus was doing. Jesus was praying on the shore for the disciples because he knew the storm was coming. He knew about this storm all along. Besides, he's God. He knows what's going on. He knows our problems. He was just sitting on the shore waiting for them to call on him. And we need to realize this, that Jesus is also hearing us in the middle of our storms. And know this, there is no storm that you face or will ever face that God cannot handle. The fact that Jesus doesn't always give us perfect peace and call every storm in our life, a lot of us, we pour out our hearts to him. God, we need you right now. Come right now. Come right now. Sometimes he comes later. Sometimes he brings peace in his timing. And today you can face the storms of your life today because Jesus says he is with you. And Jesus knows about the storms you are facing before you even get out on the water. And today, no matter what storm you have in your life right now, remember this. You can call on him in your time of distress, and he will see you through. I hope you have a great day. God bless you, and I'll see you again tomorrow.